There comes a point when your life does not fall apart, but it stops being easy in a way you just can't explain. Nothing is wrong on paper. You're functioning, you're showing up, you're doing what you said you would do. But everything feels heavier. Not dramatic, not catastrophic, just weighted. The same conversations take more energy. The same environments feel denser. The same decisions require more internal pressure to hold. And you start to wonder quietly, why does living cleanly feel harder than when I was half lying to myself and others? That question marks a sacred threshold. It often begins with something small. A conversation where you don't soften the truth. A request you don't automatically accept. A dynamic where you don't move to smooth things over immediately. You don't do anything aggressive. You're not confrontational. You don't explain. You just stay where you are, and the room changes. Not outwardly. Nobody storms out, no fists are thrown, but something subtle happens. The energy tightens. There's hesitation. Silence stretches longer than usual. Your body notices before your mind does. Your chest firms up. Your breath shortens slightly. Not fear, but pressure. And later that day, you're more tired than expected. Not emotionally wrecked, but spent. And this is the first sign. Most men don't recognize this sign as a test. They think that they have done something wrong. They replay the interaction in their head over and over and over. Was I too cold? Did I come off as arrogant? Should I have explained myself better? So next time, they compensate. They add more context. They soften their words. They preempt that discomfort. And immediately, the room relaxes again. People smile. The tension drops. Everything feels normal and socially acceptable. But something inside of you doesn't, because your body felt the moment you stepped away from your center. And it registered that stepping away as a loss. This is the mechanism how most men lose themselves without ever collapsing. Not through chaos, through minor adjustments. Each time you bend after clarity, the bend gets easier. Each time you override yourself, the override feels slightly more reasonable. Days pass, weeks pass, months pass, and nothing dramatic has happened. You're still competent, still respected, still outwardly successful, but there's a quiet resentment which starts to form. You feel irritated by things you agreed to. You feel tired of conversations you keep having. You feel an internal drag that no amount of rest or caffeine seems to fix. That drag is not burnout. It's integrity being slowly traded for ease and comfort. And now we've reached the part that no one talks about. Years later, men wake up with lives that look fine and feel wrong. They say things like, I don't know why I am so tired. I should be grateful. Nothing is actually broken. They book holidays. They change routines. They try to reset, and they try all of the productivity hacks imaginable. But what they are exhausted by is not effort. It's the constant micro adjustments required to stay acceptable. The constant bending, the constant smoothing, the constant self-editing. That cost accumulates quietly, and one day it's heavy enough to be felt in the depth of your stomach. Standing upright costs energy in the beginning, not because it is unnatural, but because it's new. It's a new habit, and your nervous system was trained to keep things smooth. Your relationships were structured around your flexibility. Your environments were calibrated to your accommodation. When you stop bending, systems resist. Expectations surface. Pressure increases. This isn't punishment, it's recalibration. Reality is adjusting to a new center of gravity, and gravity always pulls before it finally settles and balances. Most men at this stage interpret resistance as feedback. They think, this friction means I'm doing it wrong. So they soften again. They compromise their tone again. They reopen negotiations they already closed again. They explain truths that don't need defending. The pressure eases temporarily, but the cost later returns. And of course, with interest, because now you've taught the system something dangerous, that your alignment is negotiable. Here is where the work actually is. You hold your position without hardening. You don't attack. You don't withdraw. You don't over-justify. You stay present. Your body wants relief. Your mind wants resolution. Everything in you wants the tension to end, but you do not move. You let the discomfort exist. This feels absolutely brutal at first, because you were trained to manage other people's reactions. Now you don't. When you stop correcting for others, patterns begin to emerge. Some people pull away. Some dynamics dissolve. Some expectations quietly disappear. Not because you pushed anyone out, but because the cost of leaning on you increased. This sorting doesn't feel clean. It feels like a loss. And many men fail here because they mistake loss for failure. But these two things are not the same. Integrity is not free. It charges interest daily. And you pay for it in things like awkward silences, disappointed expectations, fewer invitations, thinner rooms. But rest assured, you gain something most men never touch. Internal quiet. Not peace, but alignment. A feeling that your actions and your sacred spine are finally pointing in the same direction. That alignment generates energy over time. Not immediately, and this is the hard part, but it is guaranteed gradually. Every single initiation the world over removes comfort before it offers authority. If you rush to restore ease, you fail the test. Standing upright isn't about being right. It's about being non-negotiable internally when no one is there affirming you. This is where a man becomes trustworthy to himself. And self-trust is heavier than confidence. There comes a moment when you could walk away, not from people, but from yourself. You could explain, you could soften, you could fold just enough to make it stop. And no one would blame you. Even they would applaud you. And that is the real test. Not public courage, private fidelity. You stay and slowly your body learns something new. That you can survive tension without collapsing. Eventually, and don't take this the wrong way, this will take time, something shifts. Not outwardly at first, internally. You stop rehearsing conversations. You stop second-guessing decisions. You stop resenting yourself for agreeing to things you didn't want. Your energy begins to return, not as excitement, but as steadiness. That steadiness changes how the world meets you. But before that happens, you must carry the weight without trying to escape it. There is no other way. Once you can stand upright without bending, another pressure arises. People who benefited from your flexibility will react, sometimes subtly, sometimes passively, sometimes with concern that isn't really concern. That reaction isn't cruelty, it's dependency being exposed. And learning to hold boundaries without rescuing others from their own discomforts is the next stage in this initiation.